Alrighty, welcome back to the time I got reincarnated as a slime. And I'm review episode number 3. This was discussing episodes 6 and 7, Shizu and Conquering the Flame. Yes, episode 6 is the debut of the character of Shizu. Yep. And if you're wondering who in the world voices her, well, yeah, she is voiced by Dawn and Bennett. Yep. Oh yeah, and it turns out the actual, get this, the child from the first episode series was sort of disappeared in flames. Turns out that was Shizu. That technically was the first appearance, so people probably didn't know it unless you watch this episode. These episodes, anyways. So, in the case of what happened between episodes 5 and 6, well, when Rinzu and the party came back, they discovered more goblins and moved to the area because, well, the dragon disappeared. So, a total of 500 goblins. Which, of course, Rinzu decided to name them all, spend 3 days sleeping, and then they're all basically normal. And, of course, you have Gyu, who's teaching everybody how to summon their Tempest Wolf. And meanwhile, though, the party has showed up back in episode 2. Yes, they come back. Yeah, the Big Ring Adventure Party who come back, and their task is simply check out the monsters in the area. And of course, well, they end up attacking a nest of giant ants. Yes, giant ants. And you're thinking, giant ants? Is it a sci-fi B-movie from the 50s? No. I'm sure that the idea for these creatures probably came from the film Ants. I would not be surprised about that, except because they look like giant fire ants with like little markings on them. Shizu herself was able to take out these people no problem. Shizu is the mysterious individual who is a very lovely woman. Yes, this woman actually showed up, you saw her briefly in the previous episode. This episode is actually her debut. And she wears a mask, so you can see she's a beautiful woman. And like little markings on her cheek. And showing flashback, she's actually the host to a fire spirit named Inru. Yes, a fire spirit who is a guy possessing, at the time, a little girl, now a woman who has been around for over 50 years. Yeah, they mention here that apparently she has not aged in 50 years, which is quite interesting for a woman who looks like she's presumably in her 20s, I'd say. Yeah. And apparently, the opening scene of the first episode, I was wondering where the heck came from. Turns out, actually, get this, the bombings of World War II, and it's explained via documentation later on after Rinzu saves them. Yeah, there's a little documentation where he's like in her arms. You're like, oh, it's like so soft. It's like he's like on Dream Street. Yep. So, despite the fact, yes, a guy who has a woman's voice. And as the documentation is like, and of course he has a little fantasy. They got the pure pretty elves. Yes, and the elf like, oh, look like stripping on the outfit. Look like stripping naked. Like, oh no, not that. Let's show off. And it mentioned that she says Tokyo looks a lot like New York City, which I'm sure that probably modern day Tokyo probably took inspiration for a skyline from New York City, but done in Japanese style, Japanese way. And after a while, she gets a headache. Then, of course, you see a flashback when she was first summoned and her possession being possessed and then killing a bird demon. Yes, a bird demon. And you have a little girl sometime later, I'd say like 10, 20 years later maybe. Excuse me. Where, like, she finds a fox that looks suspiciously like an Eevee of a Pokemon. Yes, where brings it to the Demon Lord's castle. Yeah, it turns out that the person who summoned her was in fact the Demon Lord. Why the heck he summoned her? Because it felt like it. Despite the fact he could easily just treat her wounds. Like, give her the burn mark on her freaking arm. Nope. It took Ehab probably to take care of that. So apparently, because this creature was growling and possibly maybe a threat to him, so Ehab takes possession of Sisu and kills the little girl and the fox. Jump to present day, where she's having a nightmare about it, and of course, it looks like she's teasing something, which we'll get to that in a minute. And of course, they have to go. Of course, this apparently was Shisu's last journey, and then she's got to go freaking nuts. Oh, by the way, the goblins are wearing clothes now. They're no longer wearing those barbarian clothes they were wearing before. Yeah, they're wearing actual clothing now. But I'm sure the clothing will evolve as time goes on. Yeah, from looking at it here, it looks like something out of, I'd say, the Dark Ages possibly, but I'm sure it'll probably evolve. Yeah, it's explained that all the dwarves get something to do. I believe it's Kenju makes the. I know they have the three brothers. The middle brother is the craftsman. The silent one is the architect, and the first one basically makes the clothes, which is like, okay. And you have Kaiju who makes the weapons. Okay, quite interesting. Yep. And then, of course, where Seiju goes freaking nuts in the village, and of course, Renju has a little funny thing like, we just built this damn thing. It's like, I love that little joke. And the fact that apparently she did figure out that he's from Japan originally, based on a line that he says, I'm not a bad slime. And apparently she recognized it. The reason why he mentioned that line, the other three have no idea what the heck he was talking about, because they're from this world. And Shizu is an isekai. So, yeah, of course, he does mention what happened to him back in the first episode of the series. This is, of course, before the little flashback thought communication, which I thought was so neat. Yep. And then he goes freaking nuts. She goes nuts and turns him to Iot. And then, by the way, the leader of the party knows exactly who Iot is. And, of course, they had no idea that the person traveling with Shizu was, in fact, Shizu Izawa. Yeah, apparently they had no idea. So, then of course, after being the salamanders, at one point it looked like if they used the water in Rizu's stomach, it would cause a big explosion. It looked like it could be an atomic bomb. So we just used the ice spear thing from the female adventurer from that venture group, and used that to kill two of the salamanders. Third one exploding, of course, to do with Iot. So, at the beginning, it's fake ones thanks to. Well, they tried water blow. Water blow didn't work on it, so he proceeds to use Predator to sort of absorb it, and then apparently in its prison, they pick a fight with the Storm Dragon. And that's how the episode ends. Yeah, basically described here in these two episodes, that's literally what happened. But these are really good episodes. Thoroughly enjoy them. Now, you might be curious, though. What chapters of the book do these two episodes cover? Now, in the case of episode 6... this one covers the first interlude. The first of the 3 girl and stories, and chapter 4. And as in the case of chapter 7, this one covers Girl and the Titan, which was the second one of these ones, and the rest of chapter 4. So my guess is probably that episode 8 probably covers the rest, right? Yeah, it probably does. Yeah, but I'm definitely looking forward to watching the last 2 before I put the series on break for a bit before, so I can read a book. So I can read the book 2 for the series, okay? Yeah, so that's going to be pretty much it for this particular review. And well, until I see you next video, which might be tonight, might be tomorrow, okay? Next video. Bye.